Hey y'all, welcome back to Gramps Place, where I have the conversations most people aren't sure they want to, but often can relate to. We talk about all things politics, government, political parties, and the economy with doctors, scientists, politicians, and everyday average people. Join my guests and I as we explore the current events in the good old USA and around the world together here at Gramps Place. Hey y'all, welcome back to Gramps Place. Tonight I'm joined by a very special guest, a good friend of mine, we've known for several years, and let's see if I can bring him in here to the show. There we are. Hello, Austin. This is my good friend Austin Zamhariri. Everybody that knows Austin knows he's big in the cannabis world in Texas. He's the executive director of an organization that he founded and created called the Texas Cannabis Collective. Welcome, Austin.
It's good to be back, Gramps. Chopping it up once again. We've done this so many times. It's just like riding a bike.
Yeah, once again, here we are, right? So
Yeah.
tell me all the big happenings in Texas. I know we had a big session this year, and you had some battles that you probably feel like you won some battles. You might have lost a couple, but tell us a little bit. Give us the rundown of what all happened in Texas this year.
Oh man. Well, we started off really in 2024, the very end of 2024, with the lieutenant governor boldly proclaiming that he was going to come after hemp-derived THC with a total ban. He made it one of the highest priority bills, SB3, in the entire Senate chamber. So for the better part of the entire legislative process, we were battling SB3, its companion bill HB 28. There was a lot of trickery that was involved. It flew through the Senate. We knew that was going to happen. It seemed to stall out in the House a little bit until it got to the House floor, which is where the lieutenant governor's neighbor, Tom Oliverson, Rep. Oliverson, authored an amendment called the Oliverson Amendment, which reverted all of the hard work that the House State Affairs Committee had put into creating a regulatory hemp bill. The Oliverson Amendment essentially stripped all of that language and reverted everything back to the total ban bill, SB3. Which it passed, and we thought essentially that was going to be it. That was the total ban. We lost. Upon conference, everything seemed to sail pretty quickly. There were a couple minor details that they fixed, but we were really staring down a total hemp ban and just total destruction of the hemp industry, billion-dollar hemp industry in Texas. Yeah. Literally until the 11th hour. The last day that Governor Abbott could veto all of any bill, at literally the 11th hour, is 11:15 or 11:20, something like that. He made the historic move to veto SB3, which I think sent everybody into shock. It made national headlines. He really kind of changed the course of events and created this kind of back and forth with the lieutenant. You don't often see the lieutenant governor and the governor kind of butting heads on something, but
that's what I was going to say. Is what I saw in the news media up here in Oklahoma was the back and forth that started between Abbott and Patrick, and I mean, it just seemed like there was sheer shock on Patrick's whole part. Mm-hmm. That he was shocked that Abbott even would go that far, to say we need to regulate this, as he put it, legalize marijuana in Texas. That's the way Dan Patrick put it, and they made sure that got out there in the national media, like you say. But well, since that all transpired and he vetoed it, then he called a special session, right?
Correct. The special session, well, at the time, that was going to be the headliner, was hemp. And getting hemp regulations all kind of squared away, and that was kind of top of the ticket. There were some other items in there, property taxes, things like that. However, like immediately on July 4th, you know, the special was supposed to start on the 13th or something like that. And on July 4th, we had historic like flooding in the hill country that killed 100 plus people, mostly camp kids, 11, 12-year-olds.
Yeah, it was horrific.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific. And so, you know, as that continued to transpire and that tragedy unfolded, that and the response to it really kind of stole the narrative and became the real headliner, rightfully so. And so we went back into special session thinking, okay, well, yeah, they're going to take care of this flood stuff, and hemp is going to be somewhere in between. We should have been more prepared for the idea that the lieutenant governor and the Senate were going to like jump on hemp as fast as they could. And look, it was the first committee hearing.
Yeah.
Less than 24 hours into the first special session, instead of dealing with flooding, we were talking about banning hemp. So
I was flabbergasted when that hit the headlines. It was like, wait, what? They passed what today?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's just
we
crazy.
were in the building. We were literally in the building. We were there opening day of the special, and we were we were there when, because I believe then it became SB4. Or no, I'm sorry, it became SB5. SB5 was the new SB3. Did almost exact same language. So we were like, oh, this is just another like, even though the governor had said, hey, I want these regulations, this is what he stipulated in his proclamation.
They totally ignored that.
Yeah, Senate was like, fuck you. We're gonna go with a total ban again, which summarily, yeah, they got that thing in and out of the Senate very quickly. And it was funny because we were in Senator Johnson's office on the fourth floor of the Capitol, and we were having a discussion about some language for a bill that he potentially wanted to put out, which he actually eventually did put out. And while we were in the office with his chief of staff, we were talking, and they were like, hey, just to let you know, they're talking about having a committee hearing on SB5 tomorrow at 9 a.m. And we were like, what? Like, it was like less than 24 hours notice. Like, that is some shady tactics. But sure enough, that's exactly like, as we were walking out of the building, we got word, bam. Yeah, there was going to be a committee hearing. So I had to go back to Dallas Fort Worth, but Jeanette and Hallie stayed around, and Sean too, and testified in the Senate hearing for that on our behalf. So again, it shot through the Senate, not a big deal. However, I think what nobody really anticipated was going to shut everything down was the redistricting issue. And so oftentimes, Gramps, you know, when we're there for cannabis, right? We're there for one sole specific issue, but sometimes your issue gets tangled up in the minutia of what's going on and what is
picture.
What's the hot topic, and that became redistricting, which also they did before flood response.
Yeah, it just is. It's mind-boggling to me to hear all the politicians in Texas talk about what needed to be done, you know, for the flood victims, what needed to be done to prevent future issues. Gaslighting. That's what they call that. It's gaslighting. But you know,
and that's what
in the moment it was all there, but then when we get into session, it's back to our standard BS. You know, to heck with the people, to heck with what needs to happen. Let's talk about what we want to do first. And then if we have any time left, we'll see about doing this other. And of course, you know, the redistricting, where we know where that initiated from. That wasn't a Texas thing until somebody at the national level made it a Texas thing, you know.
Somebody.
At any rate, so you made it through the special sessions without having a hemp ban put in place in Texas, and then
Well,
now
that first special session. So this is where it gets interesting. That first special session got derailed because of the redistricting, because the Democrats broke quorum. And for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it means that they fled the state and they denied the chamber in the House the required bodies needed to constitutionally pass legislation.
The required attendance is the right number of people. Yeah,
exactly. And so because quorum was broken, it essentially killed the first special session. However, in that first special session, at the very end, we didn't think anything was happening, but they ended up having a hearing in public health on hemp, and it was all Republicans, no Democrats. All the Democrats were gone, so it was literally 7 Republicans in that room hearing testimony. And I'll be honest with you, that was the most time I had ever seen the Republican Party in the House give to the subject of cannabis and hemp. And man, they were far more gracious than the Senate had been, or really even than State Affairs had been. And so it was pretty cool to like see them. They spent almost 12 hours on that bill alone, which was SB5, HB5. Vandiver was the chair. He's a pretty nice guy out of Texarkana. And so that was really cool that they allowed that, but then we obviously knew that was going to die. And sure enough, they called the second special session on a Friday, which they closed the special session Friday at 10 a.m., started the second special session at Friday at noon, and by I think 2:00 or 2:30, the Senate had already passed SB6, which was the new SB5, which was the old SB3.
And still nothing for flooding.
Still nothing for flooding. Yeah. Second special session, dude, they got transgender bill, they got hemp ban, they got a bunch of
priorities. Let me tell you.
Yeah, non-priorities blasted through, and essentially like nothing came of it. The House stalled on it, and by the time things were heating up on the very last day before everybody was going to leave, we still didn't have a House hearing on the hemp ban bill, and the talks were on the House floor, like they were getting ready to get at minimum a 21 and up bill passed and sent to the Senate. And when it looked like that was going to emerge, the sweetest victory, the lieutenant governor conceded that he lost and said that they were going to sine die, shut out the second special session, and leave, which was pretty much like, okay, we're good, we're safe. And so we were able to effectively defeat the third attempt at a total hemp ban in Texas.
Well, then once you got past that, then you had Governor Abbott issue an executive order, right?
Yeah.
And what all did that do?
I think it kind of set the tone that like they weren't going to let in the interim, because the governor got redistricting, right? That passed. That was a high priority. A lot of the flooding stuff passed in the end, at the very end. Yeah. So that, I think that was good enough. And if that, there was kind of this kind of understanding, I think, between industry leaders and advocates and the governor and the regulatory regimes, specifically TABC and the Department of State Health Services, that the governor was going to issue this executive order, and it was going to be pretty basic to essentially stop kids from getting access and work on some like small stuff like packaging standards and some like zoning
Which
standards.
everybody in the industry has pretty well been for.
Everybody
anyway.
wanted it. That's
Yeah.
exactly why we were there.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
wanted that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to work with the governor. We were working with the governor. Technically, the governor's executive order is not legal. Legally, the governor cannot just magically create legislation out of thin air outside of the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
And so the big thing that he really wanted was 21 and up, and that was age gating at 21 and up, and some way to deal with packaging so that way things weren't being marketed towards minors.
Yeah.
And so really, since the end of the special session, that is what has happened. DSHS and TEBC have put out emergency rules that deal with 21 and up. They are being rigorously enforced. In fact, today we got a memo from DSHS that was pretty cute. It was a checklist of how to identify if people are, or how to properly age gate and identify if people are providing the proper ID. And for anybody that's ever worked in a restaurant, it was like, okay, like this is very basic for it. I'm telling the penalties for not doing 21 and up are a total revocation of your hemp license, right? So that'd be pretty catastrophic for a hemp shop.
Sure.
But it's like, listen, if you can't abide by these basic standard, very basic, easy practices that you should have already been doing before the proclamation, you don't deserve to have a hemp license and participate in this industry, because it is just very common knowledge, basic. Don't sell to anybody that's under 21. ID every single person. Make sure they have a valid ID, and that's it. That is basic. And so that's kind of where we were at up until about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is where we started getting word that obviously now we moved federal, right? That was state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've moved federal. And the federal government, for anybody that's been living under a rock, has been shut down for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And they've been judiciously working on a funding bill, and there were rumors that there was going to be hemp language implemented into one of the 10,000 pages of that funding bill, that would essentially shut down the hemp industry, would close what they close the loophole.
Another typical backdoor legislative move, basically.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Not germane to the funding bill. It's definitely not a clean CR.
Yeah.
And so Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul out of Kentucky, started making a lot of noise about it, and you saw a lot of hemp groups start getting very active, and it really culminated to this point where we knew that they were trying to break the 60 vote for the filibuster, right, which would allow the government to essentially reopen. And so they needed 8 Democrats to, bow down effectively, and they did, sadly. And
unfortunately.
And because of that, Mitch McConnell was going to win by putting in this hemp language, but Rand Paul wasn't standing for it. And so it really culminated down to yesterday when the actual votes were taking place. Rand Paul put forth an amendment specifically on that hemp. And like he was catching heat from like House Speaker Mike Johnson and Leader Thune and all these guys who like big names, for continue to hold up the government on this hemp language. So kudos to Rand Paul. And so that vote happened yesterday, and I think it ended up 24 to 76 to table the motion to essentially defeat it. So you only had 24 senators vote to not ban hemp in the U.S. It was 24 or so Democrats and 2 Republicans. One was Rand Paul, believe it or not. This is crazy. I don't know how this happened, but the second was Senator Ted Cruz out of Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? No, that is shocking.
And
That is shocking.
yeah, and so Ted, like immediately after, Ted Cruz put out a statement saying this is why he voted on it was states' rights, and that this is what Governor Abbott had worked on in Texas, and that the nation should take Texas's lead on its approach to hemp, which was like, oh my God, this is Ted Cruz essentially broadly supporting cannabis reform and defending Texans' hemp program.
You know, there are a few cracks, I think, beginning to show the face in the Republican stronghold. That's the first one I've heard of on the Senate side. You know, somebody actually making sense outside of the person who was pushing the amendment, which was Paul, obviously. But you know, you look at things. This is a little off topic, but you talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene out of Georgia. I mean, you look at some of the things that she's doing and saying now, and
Wow, yeah,
and
180 there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, not on everything, obviously, but she's actually listening. I can't say she is because I'm not her doing it, but I will say it actually appears as if she may actually be listening to her constituents and not just what the Republican Party is pushing for, you know, especially when you talk about the things she said about the ACA subsidies and those, how those should be extended. And, you know, she's not happy. She's not going to vote for this bill that the Senate just passed, which has nothing to do with him, but it'll be interesting to see if this, and even Mike Johnson has come out and said that he can't guarantee that they'll even vote on it at this point. So
yeah, and I mean, anything can happen. A lot of people were really freaked out about what happened in the Senate, and a lot of people just assumed that things are given.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
they're not.
They're not. And I think as a Texan, literally have been fighting this battle all year long. We're in kind of in a unique position to feel confident moving forward, knowing that, hey, this is just another step in the game, and that it's not over, and it's really not over until pen gets to paper, right? So, and in our case, it wasn't over until Governor Abbott made the veto. So,
well, and the thing people need to realize, more than anything, and this is just my opinion, and they're like assholes. Everybody's got one, but this is my opinion from years of watching the government and how it works, because that's been like a sidebar of mine for over 40 years now, before I ever even got involved in the whole cannabis movement and all of that, you know. But it's not going to be over. The whole cannabis subject is not going to be over until it's over at the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
Until it's fully won. It's no longer a controlled substance of any kind, and the argument is put to rest, more or less. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people just need to understand that there's always going to be these backdoor battles. There's always going to be things that you got to be aware of. I mean, one particular example right here in the state of Oklahoma that I just moved to in retirement. They're changing the laws up here left and right. And they've made some changes recently that don't really make any sense at all. I mean, they've changed some that make sense, but others that don't. Like one that makes sense, that everything has to be prepackaged with testing and everything on the packaging. And and things like that. You can't just go buy bulk flour in a store from a jar and they weigh it out for you anymore. You know, everything's prepackaged, pre-measured. Excuse me. And but another thing they did was they updated the DUI laws to where now there's no grace period, there's no nothing. If you test positive with any THC, even metabolites in your system, which you know as well as I do can last us up to a month after use, then that's an automatic DUI.
Damn, that's fucking harsh.
Just went into effect November 1st.
Mm.
And if you're in an accident and law enforcement is called to that scene, you will be tested. So if you've used cannabis, don't get in an accident.
Not in Oklahoma.
Not in Oklahoma. I mean, and the thing that don't make any sense is even if you have a med card, it doesn't make any difference. Mm-hmm. There is no defense to it. If you have it in your system, the way the law is written, you're guilty, and that's it. And then they've done another one where they've added this language to, excuse me, to increase the penalties for DWIs or DUIs that they call aggravated, or they classify as an aggravated DUI. Whereas if you're speeding 20 mile an hour or more over the speed limit, 10 mile an hour in a school zone, that's an aggravated DUI. If you cause an accident, that's an aggravated DUI. Mm. So what that does is it eliminates all negotiation. Your sentences become mandatory at that point. Mm. So you will do mandatory jail time. You're not going to get jail time waived for, not having any priors or anything like that. It's going to be period. That's mandatory jail time. And that's the way it's written now in Oklahoma. It's going to be interesting to see because somebody's going to be fighting it. Somebody's going to get strapped with this and they're going to take it as far as they can. But the irony of how you can possibly say this when you know the science behind how THC works in the human body and the longevity of it. It's direct trying to incarcerate people who use cannabis, even if it's for medical purposes. I mean, you can't say it's anything but that, in my opinion. It's a direct trying to shut the system down, through fear, basically. We're gonna cause people enough fear that they won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only logical explanation behind it, because obviously, you're going to be getting people convicted of this if that's the way the law is written, just because of the way the science of the plant and THC works in the human body. I mean,
and weed is everywhere in Oklahoma.
Oh, dude. I mean, it's on every street corner, everywhere you look. I mean, the little hick town that I live in here, we have 3 dispensaries right here. And one's open 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Nice.
I mean, but the thing about it is what do you do? I mean, if you're going to be a cannabis patient and you're all proud, you've got your Oklahoma medical marijuana patient card, but it means diddly squat at this point if you drive a vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely consequences.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure they're not going to be out there looking and pulling people over and saying, I'm testing you. You're going to have to be involved in an accident or speeding, acting a fool. Same things that you would ordinarily get in trouble for a DUI with alcohol. Usually something gets you in that trouble. It's not just the driving while intoxicated. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's usually something happens. Right. So that's like the attorneys and whatnot around Oklahoma are all saying, be careful.
Yeah, I would.
So anyway, what are your feelings? I kind of cut you off there a little bit, but what are your feelings on this, on the House side at the federal level with this language for the hemp ban? do you think that language will make it all the way through the House? Because there's obviously not that many that were against it on the Senate side, but the House is a whole different chamber. We all know that, and it works totally differently.
Yeah, the margins are tighter in the House,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's not a lot of room for maneuvering. So we'll see. Um, we'll see what deals get cut. I'm pretty confident it's going to pass, and that this is something that we're just as a industry, as a um, movement, we're just going to have to continue to deal with for the next upcoming year. Um, we'll see. I mean, technically, the president can still veto the bill if he doesn't like it. So, like that
Well,
is on
he can even do a line item veto if he wants to. You know, he
exactly.
has the ability to do that. So, and that's the thing that I was going to say is hopefully, and I know your organization probably is already working toward this, and all the other hemp organizations around the country are as well, I'm sure. But hopefully, there'll be enough people that get on that bandwagon now, not waiting to see until the bill passes, but going ahead and reaching out toward that effect, toward to the White House. You know, get that bug in the ear and let's get her going. You
Yeah.
know, because let's face it, we all know, even though he don't want to admit it, the jobs numbers are not the greatest this year, as it is. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
There's just one news story I was reading. I got to grab my phone so I don't get this wrong. The one news story I was reading just last week. This is recent layoff announcements. UPS 48,000 employees. Amazon up to 30,000. Intel 24,000. Nestle 16,000. Accenture 11,000. Ford 11,000. Nordisk 9,000. Microsoft 7,000. PwC 5,600. Paramount 2,000. Target 1,800. And I mean, you just heard about Wendy's is closing hundreds of stores across the USA. You know, and I mean, it's just, in my opinion, those things don't start and stop instantly. They never have in my lifetime. Those trends generally tend to keep going. So, that being said, where I'm going with this is maybe he would be, and I'm saying he being Trump, maybe Trump would be susceptible to the jobs numbers issue because you are talking about close to 400,000 people nationwide, the way I'm reading things, that are basically going to be out of a job.
Yeah. It could happen just like that. And let's also be very real about something. America produces very little domestic product that Americans will buy.
Yeah.
And hemp, cannabis products, these are almost unilaterally 100% American made.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking about an industry that is fueled by Americans, it's grown by Americans, it's consumed by Americans, it is 100% American through and through. And I'm hopeful that at least somebody on President Trump's team is seeing how devastating that could be, especially for something that is made in America, right? We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of things that we will buy that are made in America.
That's an aspect that I hadn't even clicked in my head, but that is truly, it is a burgeoning American industry.
100%.
And in its infancy, really, if you really want to stop and think about it.
I mean, we talk about American manufacturing. I mean, this is like the beginning of a new revolutionized kind of manufacturing that can be done through the hemp program. And you know, a lot of hemp is being grown specifically for cannabinoids, but the textile side is also really starting to grow, and the pinup here is all based on THC and the obviously the psychoactive compound that gets you high, right? And so that is like the only thing that different. Hemp and marijuana is the same plant, so like the only difference is this arbitrary, made up number that differentiates the two. They both do the same thing. One just has a higher concentrate of delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol. So if we can just fucking get past that bullshit and just move on, I think that we would see this turn from what is now nationally somewhere between 10 and 20 billion dollars. We could see that $100 billion, 750,000 to 1 million jobs. And especially if we can start getting to a point where we export to other countries and start leading on that initiative, then we could start seeing American-made products being exported to other countries. And this industry having global dominance in the United States of America, which is, in my opinion, the dominance will really be in certain key agricultural states, Texas being one of them.
Absolutely could be. Absolutely could be. Yeah, and that's what, excuse me, a lot of people don't understand. The textiles industry side of hemp or cannabis, however you want to refer to it, hasn't even begun to be opened up to its full potential, and what we talk about and we hear about in the news so much today with the tariffs and everything that's going on, right? And trade wars and trade deficits and this, that, and the other. You want to know why there's a trade deficit with the United States has a trade deficit with so many other countries is because what you just said a minute ago is because there aren't that many American made products anymore. Not
being exported to other countries.
That was exactly where I was going with that. It's not something that's, I mean, you got a lot of ag products and things that are exported to other countries. Yeah, but you're talking about a whole nother world with the textile industry that could really, we could be the dawning of the age if we really set our mind to it. A lot of people want to say too that regulations are bad and we need less regulations, less government, this, that, and the other. But you being in the industry is actually asking for these regulations.
Yeah,
so
it's
that
unheard
they can
of
better. Yeah, and it's insane that the industry bears the regulations, the people want the regulations, and they want the products too. And then you got the government over here listening to special interests, in my opinion, and wanting to shut the whole thing down because it's not making the right people the right amount of money. That, to me, that's what it all boils down to. Seems like it always does. Not just with him.
Definitely, that is the case.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard it. Big alcohol. We're putting a lot of money behind this, from what I've been reading. This federal push, and of course, Mitch McConnell was not pleased when he realized what the 2018 Farm Bill did. He pushed that bill through, and now he's trying to shut it all down.
They want to act like the intent was solely for industrial textile products.
Yeah,
and that is 100% untrue because they had a cannabinoid carve out for the bill.
That was exactly what I was fixing to say. Why would there be a carve out for cannabinoids if they didn't think people were going to use it?
Yeah. Mitch McConnell should have retired back in 2018. So
he should have retired before that, if you ask me.
The fact that he's leaving now is, I think, and this is what he's trying to do on his way out, is
Well,
it's just
believe
it's
it or
not gonna.
not, go ahead. I'll let you finish and then I'll say what I was going to say.
I think that this is gonna definitely it's gonna hurt a lot of Republicans up and down the ticket if this materializes and makes it all the way to next year where there is a total hemp ban.
It's going to be
That will
another thing that hurts Republicans.
catastrophe another thing, right? But catastrophically so. I think.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's you know, it, surely the House will come to their senses and say, no, take this out. Surely, because I'm hoping because the numbers that are there's got to be more voices of reason. You know what I mean? That's the thought process. At any rate, I want one more thing I want to talk about right quick. It's a little off topic from your topic, but uh, we kind of have stretched into it a little bit talking about Mitch McConnell leaving. Uh, what are your thoughts on just the vast number, excuse me, of long timers that are saying they're done when it comes to the House and Senate?
Good.
There's an
Good.
ever increasing number that are saying I'm not running for reelection.
Good. In fact, we should probably start talking about age limits when it comes to. I mean, I know term limits is very possible, and we have minimum age requirements for Congress and the presidency. I don't see why we don't have maximum.
There most certainly should be maximums. But I'm like you. I think it's good that a lot of these guys are saying and gals are saying I'm done. My hope is that we get in some younger people that are a little more open to the realities of today and what the people want and what the people need. And, I mean, that's my hope. We can all hope and dream, right? I mean, surely there's got to be some people and hopefully a few more will start to see the light, like a few that we've talked about earlier that are starting to say, hey, wait a minute, this is not right. We can hope for that. Not just on the hemp front, but on a lot of other things as well, I think.
Yeah. There needs to be fresh ideas.
What's the next step for y'all in Texas? Just waiting to see what happens with this? Or
yeah, we're just going to keep our pulse on what's going to happen over the next coming days with the House and see how this bill materializes. It's kind of dead season. Typically, November, December, we're all celebrating holidays and stuff like that. There's no major. It's an off year in 2026. There's no legislature, so I was a little worried that hey, we're not going to really have anything to do next year. And the universe always provides when you think that. So we're likely just going to roll into next year, really focus on the federal side, get back to DC, and stay focused on elections, things of that nature, keep people educated, work on some events. Hopefully, it sounds like we're going to have to do a march next year because shit's going to go down. So that's not off the table. A lot of activity in 2026, culminating in elections in November, and hopefully that will include an exit for Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
I certainly hope so. I was going to ask you what you think the chances are of getting him out this time around.
He's really unpopular.
he's been a serious stronghold, and he's had the money coffers, to win the fights and everything.
Yeah,
in the
but
past, but he's
only
really
won
pissed off a lot of people.
In 22, he won by 8 percentage points against Mike Collier. In 2018, he only won by like 4.5.
That's in the statewide race, right? That's
statewide.
the statewide race. I'm talking about the primary. Do you think he might get knocked out in the primary this year?
Well, today we just saw people filing to run in the for elections. So I've already seen a couple. There's a guy named Timothy Mabry. He's a Navy veteran. A couple. I saw one other person who I wasn't familiar with their name. These aren't candidates with big money. I'd be interested if there was a candidate with a big money name that would come in maybe in December or something like that. But if it stands pat, I'm pretty sure the lieutenant governor is going to clean sweep and make it through the primaries okay. It's when he gets to the general that I think there's hopefully going to be some pushback against him, because nobody wants to go through 4 more years of banning hemp THC, which is exactly what will happen if he comes back.
Oh yeah,
No,
that'll be
no
top
question
on
about
his
it.
list again. Yeah,
No question about it. So
that's number one on his hit list for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I think he opened the door when he told the state of Texas that if you want me to legalize marijuana in Texas, you might as well just vote me out of office. I think that was a bad statement to be making on national TV at that, because it went national. That wasn't just something that was in Texas. So.
Yeah, I watched that press conference. We're ready. We're ready for that. That was the day after the veto, by the way.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens, with this thing at the federal level. Of course, I wish you all the best of luck in your fight, as always. It's not a fun one. I've been there with you.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it really don't matter what happens in Texas if this goes through and gets signed into law. That's the sad part about it. No matter what happens anywhere.
Yeah, I know we could be in a lot of trouble. Well, hopefully not.
So are you planning on heading to DC anytime soon, or are you going to wait till after the first of the year? Or?
Oh yeah, it's going to be next year. We're going to kind of wait to see. I got to get through the holiday season. We all need to get through the holiday season, just enjoy that time with family and stuff, and then come January, hit the ground running and figure out. It's probably going to be, there may be multiple trips to DC, to be honest with you. So we'll see how that materializes, and what kind of happens congressionally. I still anticipate a lot of deadlock. So
yeah, well, that kind of goes without saying. It's the federal government. They do more deadlock than they do anything else, I think.
For sure.
At any rate, well, I want to thank you for joining me tonight, Austin. It's been enlightening on the happenings in Texas that I've learned involved in the past year, in the past session. I was watching from the sidelines, but I didn't have all the insights and ins and outs. You're always welcome to come back and enlighten us some more on the fight on the cannabis front. We always love to hear from you.
Love it, Gramps. It's always good to be here with you, man.
Same to you, man. I appreciate you joining me. And as always, keep up the fight. So that's going to do it for this episode. Want to thank y'all for joining us, and want to have y'all come in anytime you want. And if you want to be a guest, you can do that too. You can look in the show notes and see a link to how to schedule an interview and be a part of Gramps Place, where you pick the topic. That's it for tonight. I want to thank y'all. I'm Gramps, and good night.